Merry Christmas, everyone. Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today, I thought we could do a recap of the 2024 Advent Patch Calendar from 511. I do these as a short every year, but I think something like 80% of my audience is focused on long-form content, so I always like to revisit it once we've opened each of the days. So unfortunately, the calendar itself doesn't fit in frame of the video here, but as you can see, I already removed all of the patches from their doors and added them to my Velcro patch book. And so we're going to move this out of the way. I actually have the last 4 years of patches here that we're going to kind of run through since I've been purchasing this calendar since 2021, which is what you see here. We'll run through 2021 through 2023 somewhat quickly. I'll point out my 5 favorites from each, and then we'll spend a little bit more time on 2024 since that's the current year, but I thought it would be fun to just kind of revisit all of them. So starting with 2021, all of them fit in frame because they had this really straightforward design language where they use hexagon shaped patches. The first 22 days of the month you get the smaller hexagon, and then on the 23rd and 24th you get the larger. And so some really great designs. They followed a very specific theme. All of them are pretty much holiday themed, which won't always be the case for these. And so for the favorites here, we had a really nice 3-day run right in the middle where we got 3 of my top 5. And so that starts with the Merry Krampus patch, followed by our gingerbread patch. Love that this one's a little bit different color than most of the patches we got. Also just love that Rambo style headband, super fun design, followed by the snowman. So 3 of my top 5 right in a row. Then last but not least, we have the 2 oversized, the 23rd and the 24th, rounding out my top 5. Should be noted that all of the years except 2023 are going to be in order. 2023 got out of order when I stored it, and I didn't want to go back and watch the video and replace them in order, so that one's completely out of order, but the rest should be in the order that they came. And so really solid year for 2021. Again, clear design language and some really fun designs. Moving on to 2022, they followed the exact same playbook. And so we have the exact same thing, 22 smaller hexagon shaped patches and 2 larger ones, one on the 23rd, one on the 24th. And for 2022, my favorites all kind of happened to lump together. Now they weren't necessarily received in the same order, just the way they ended up laid out in this order, put them all in a sort of cluster. So starting at the top with the Rumpa-Bump-Bump grenade, then we have the Christmas tree and the jack-o'-lantern. Jack-o'-lantern's probably my favorite of the year. Absolutely love that. It's barely Christmas themed at all. In fact, because of the color of those lights, you can use that as a Halloween patch. And that's the only one that's really not super Christmas themed in 2022. Underneath that, we have the Grim Reaper in the Santa hat and then the UFO abducting the Christmas tree. So a lot of really solid designs in that cluster. Overall, I think I liked 2021 a little bit better, at least for today's taste. That may have been different when I made this video last year or the year before. I'm not 100% sure. But now in today's taste, I think I liked 2021 a little bit better. But the highs were a little bit higher in 2022. The lows were a little bit lower in 2022. So there are some really, really solid ones that I love. Another one that I really love is this kind of pixelated Santa down here. It didn't quite make the cut, but that's probably number 6. Now, 2023, they threw that playbook out the window and completely revamped how they do this calendar. And so, again, this one's not going to be in order, but they didn't all fit in one page, nice and clear and lining up like they did in 2021 and 2022. So we're actually going to start on the bottom of our 2022 page with 2023, 4 patches that didn't fit on the next page. And so, as you can see, they don't necessarily follow a clear holiday theme. About half of them do on this page, but it's going to be even less on the next page. We have our gnome and then our piece on Earth, Semper Paratus. Now, the Zero Ducks Given is actually a recycle from a 2022 design. As you can see here, we have the Zero Ducks Given. This one's a little bit more detailed, and I think that was a pretty popular one, so it makes sense that they ended up reusing it. Then we have this great Honoring All Who Serve, which is a really classic, just kind of American design. And this was one of their patch of the month patches, I believe number 47 here. That is something we see. You see here we have 24, is that they started in 2023 redoing the patch of the month. Some of the most popular ones of all time. There are different sizes in the original, so if you have the original, it's still going to retain its value, but it gave people the opportunity that liked those patches and weren't able to get them through the Advent calendar, at least a different version of them. Same exact design, just different size, sometimes different shape. And so some great ones on page 1. I don't think any of these are in my top 5, so we'll move on to page 2. And here we have page 2. Obviously, again, it fills up the entirety of the page. And one thing you'll notice with page 2 is that there's almost no holiday themed patches. In fact, I think we only have one on here, and that's this Ready to Slay, which is probably my favorite patch of 2023. Just a really solid design. I love the kind of geometric shape of that reindeer, that Rudolph we have there, and the colors are excellent. So really fun design. That's my number one. Right above that's probably my number two with that Army helmet turtle, and really great design. It has the 511 playing card in the strap of that helmet. Rounding out our top five, we have Grim Breacher up here with that sort of motorcycle club banner on the top and bottom. We have the nose art on the top right, and then the knight chest piece right here in the top kind of middle second position. And so some really solid designs, but they went away from the holiday theme, and I think probably people weren't a huge fan of that because this year they went entirely back to that. I do like it because it allowed us to use these patches year round. They're not geared specifically to December, and so that made it really fun. I also love this 511 one, which ended up kind of being the theme, as you saw on our calendar, of the 2024 calendar. So that 511 pizza one's probably right outside of my top five, but right up there on the list. Some really great designs in 2023, but yeah, was kind of missing that holiday theme. I think I mentioned in the video last year I would have preferred if it was a more even mix, maybe half and half, 12 and 12. And so for 2024, they didn't go back to the hexagon shapes, but they did go back to nearly an entirely holiday themed theme. And so going in order, we'll spend a little bit more time looking at these ones, since if you don't watch the shorts, this is the first time seeing them on the channel. In day number one, we got the pizza themed with the Christmas hat. Really great design. I've seen a lot of kind of variations of pizzas like that with incorporating a skull, but it's a great one. I love pizza, a really clean design. I don't think it's in my top five, but it's definitely up there with a super fun design, and obviously matches the theme of the box as well. On to day two, we get the clock tower, and this is just kind of a classic Christmas look to me. Not the funnest design once again, but I do like it overall. Really appealing design. Day three, we got a pretty cool one with the tank launching the marshmallow, presumably towards a cup of hot chocolate. So absolutely love that one. Followed by Santa's Workshop, or I guess a sort of gingerbread house, but that's a really solid design as well. Moving on to day five, we have this sort of monster truck van, which I absolutely love. Has the peppermint wheels and all decked out for Christmas as well. This was probably my favorite of the first five, but maybe not still in my top five overall. Moving on is probably the weakest patch of the collection. Day six, we have the camouflage Christmas tree, and I do think it's a cool design. I love camouflage, but the other ones all just have so much going on. This one's a little bit boring in contrast, but really solid design still. Moving on to day seven, we have our astronaut carrying that candy cane. That's a pretty fun design. Moving to eight, we have our rabbit. That kind of ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the candy cane in this case. This one probably is close to my top five. If it's not top five, I think it might be top six. I'm going to reserve because I actually didn't go through this and choose my top five, but I know some of my favorites are in the second half here. So only 16 on this page. We have more on the next page. So moving down, this one is certainly in my top five. We have the octopus with multiple arms just decked out with different types of holiday gear, holding the anchor and the Santa hat on top. Love that design, and also love the next design, that fruitcake on, what are we on, day 10? So we have the fruitcake with the boxing gloves. That one's definitely in my top five as well. And then a really solid run again. We have a polar bear with this sort of Punisher vest on, all decked out in red. I'm kind of in between which polar bears in my top five. I think I'm going to put one of the two. I'm just not sure which. So we have the Punisher style one up here, and then right below that we have this one getting all sauced on the eggnog, which is a lot of fun as well. But skipping ahead a little bit there. So next up we have that reindeer with the wings and the flight mask on, and that's another recycled design. We saw something very similar in 2021. This one's a little bit less of a direct copy of that design though. If we look back at that one, they definitely rehashed that idea, but in a much cooler version for 2024. Going back to 2024, we have another bear. This one, a brown bear, kind of giving Winnie the Pooh vibes with that red shirt creeping up. Be honest, when I first opened this one, I thought he had a traffic cone on his head, and then I realized, you know, this is Christmas themed. That's clearly a Christmas hat, but I thought he just had a banged up traffic cone on his head, which is pretty funny. Then we have our airdrop helicopter dropping the gift from the candy cane line. Already mentioned the polar bear with the eggnog. That one and the Punisher one are somewhere in my top five. 5, not exactly sure where. And last but not least, on page 1, for the 16th, we got the Abominable Snowman carrying his 511 shopping bag. Really, really cool design. I always love cryptids, so that one's definitely a contender as well. But I saved 2 spots on the top 5 because I knew there were 2 on the second page, these last 8 that I really wanted to include on it. So starting at the top, we have our fire truck and our police car on the top right. And so I was really expecting to get an ambulance on day 3, or I guess this is 17, 18, so day 19. I was kind of expecting to get an ambulance after receiving the fire truck and police car. But day 19 did not disappoint. We got this super cool duck here, and this is definitely in my top 5 as well. I know Sean over at Watch City Knives was really hoping to get a cool patch on the 19th because it's his birthday, and this I think was really cool. He pointed out that it kind of reminded him of the old school like 90s Mighty Ducks logo, and it definitely does, so super fun one, love that. Then we have a sort of Navy SEAL, I guess. It's a SEAL decked out in tactical gear. That one's really cool. And then after that, I believe this is some sort of toad, maybe a frog, but this is rounding out my top 5. I absolutely love this design. It's probably my favorite of the year. I'm not sure exactly what it is about it, but just a great design overall. Now continuing down the line, we have the snowman with the candy cane, kind of a repeat of one of my favorites in 2021 as we saw earlier. Right off here, just different version of it, but we also have the snowman with the pipe out the side of his mouth, kind of similar facial features and things like that. So very similar, but new design. And then the sled with the nose art. This was definitely in contention. I didn't include it in my top 5. It was a tough year. I think we got some really great patches this year, so it was tough to make a top 5 for 2024. And then last but not least, we have Santa Claus. And this is some of the artwork that was on the calendar itself, that pizza box style calendar that we got. He was on the right when I first started the video. And so this is a really cool one as well, and continues the trend for 2023. I believe they didn't do it, but in 2024 they used this as the patch design, and so, or 2022, I'm sorry, they did use the patch design from the box itself. So just 2022 and 2024 saw that, but really great patch for the 24th, Christmas Eve here, and just a really solid run. I can say pretty confidently that this is my favorite of the 4 years that they've done so far. And with the previous years, it was always pretty close where I would kind of go back and forth depending on when I'm looking at it, you know, our taste change or taste from day to day even change. But this one I think is solidly on top of the list. All great Christmas themed patches, really consistent theming here. It's not the same hexagon pattern, but you can see they all have the same finish. If we look even at 2023, it's all different shapes, but they're different textures. We have woven patches, PVC patches, this like coin plastic patch, and a bunch of different styles, where with this one, it's very cohesive, even though they don't follow the same shape. The style of artwork and the overall design theme is very cohesive. I love a majority of the patches that we got are above average patches, where I didn't feel like there was very many misses for 2024. So just a solid calendar this year. And best part of all is if you want these patches, now that Christmas is over, these are on clearance for $29. So barely $1 a patch. So 24 patches for $29. Just a little more than $1 a patch isn't bad at all for these. Really great way to pick these up. Now, unlike 2023 where they didn't give as steep a discount after Christmas, these ones are all holiday themed, so you're pretty much going to have to wait to use them until 2025, unlike 2023. So there was a clear advantage for 2023 in that regard, but I do like the patch design better here. Would love to know your favorites, though, this year of all 4 years, down in the comments below. Hope everyone's having a Merry Christmas. Let me know if you ended up getting anything EDC related down in the comments as well, if you've already opened presents by the time you watch this. But thanks everyone who watched. Again, Merry Christmas if you celebrate. If you don't, Merry Wednesday. And if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, joining the channel as a member, or checking out some of my other videos. All helps the channel out a ton. And as always, hope you have a great one. Take care.